Thank you very much, Mr. Gale. It's always a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and I too pay tribute to my honourable friend for Carshalton Wallington, my honourable right honourable friend for Hemel Hempstead, and indeed all colleagues who've spoken, because party politics comes nowhere near this debate today. We're all here with one purpose, which is to raise the publicity about Fibrodysplasia Ossificans Progressive, to give it its full name, which I'll refer to as FOP from now onwards. And I'm not aware that I have a constituent with this condition, but 584 of my constituents signed that petition, and I took that as a direct instruction from them as my employers, as that's who they are, to be here today. I suspect that had something to do with my right honourable friend from Hemel Hempstead being so active on this issue as one of my constituency neighbours. But as colleagues have said so far, I too am very proud to live in a country in which 111,000 people have signed a petition relating to 80 children, young people in the main, that we are aware of, although I absolutely take the point there could be quite a few more that have not been correctly diagnosed. And that is humbling. It's just worth forcing on as a moment. We're a nation of 67 million people. You know, you might think something that affected 80 people didn't really matter, but it does matter hugely, because all of those individuals matter as individuals, and that's what we are talking about today. Now, Fibrodysplasia Ossificans Progressive, it's a variable and progressive illness. It can lock a person's jaw, can make eating, talking and dental care extremely difficult, can lead to breathing difficulties. And I've looked at some of the photographs which my right honourable friend for Hemel Hempstead brought into the debate, and they tell a powerful story as well for those people who want to Google them. Now, I was very interested to read about the trial of palovarotene. I understand there were 107 participants in it. You might think that's not a particularly large number, but as we just said, this is a very rare disease, so it's significant. And I understand in that trial we saw that 62% of people treated with palovarotene saw a reduction in new heterotopic ossification volume. So that does seem encouraging. I'm not a clinician myself. I don't know if that would be a high enough result in order to put this drug into widespread use, but to me it certainly seems encouraging. And I too want to pay tribute to the researchers at the University of Oxfordshire who've done amazing work, as we all know, on vaccines for the pandemic earlier this year, and isn't it incredible that they are researching into FOP as well. I'm pleased that our government has a rare diseases framework. It's published in January this year. When I read through it, preparing for this debate, I thought what it was aiming to do was absolutely right, if I can say that to the Minister and the Department. The four priorities have already been spoken about today: helping patients get the right diagnosis faster, proper awareness of rare diseases amongst healthcare professionals, priority 2, thirdly, better coordination of care, and fourthly, improving access to specialist care, treatment and drugs. To me, they all seemed absolutely right, and there are 5 themes, underpinning themes, that go along with that framework, namely patient voice, national and international collaboration, and we've already heard about the research at both the University of Oxford and the University of Pennsylvania, and I'm sure researchers are talking to each other and following each other's work in both those universities. And there's the digital data and technology, so important, so that knowledge flow can take place and people can be aware of the latest research. Then wider policy alignment in how we look after people with FOP. And then finally, the research, which we have all been talking about. Now, I understand that the National Institute of Health Research has funded 8 studies in this area, which I am pleased about. but I've also heard that FOP friends are funding a very great proportion of this research. So I do have a suggestion for the Minister that I know she won't be able to respond to now, but I would ask her just to take it back to the department and to discuss it with the Secretary of State and with officials. But what I understand from the research I've done for this debate is that research into FOP would also help not only the victims of FOP, but people with military and blast injuries, people with joint replacements, severe burns, sporting injuries, osteoporosis, heart disease, atherosclerosis, and chronic anemia. So the thought I had coming into this debate today, Sir Roger, was that if we just took the smallest proportion, maybe even 0.1% of the funding for all those research into all those other conditions and earmarked it for FOP, we would probably not really severely impact the research into those other conditions at all, but we would provide a significant additional pot of money into FOP research, which would be, I would say, a legitimate transfer of funding, given the benefits that that FOP research would have to those other medical conditions. So I just give that to the Minister for her consideration. I don't know whether it's feasible or not, or could be done, but it might be a way in the short term, when budgets are tight as they are at the moment, to try and get more research into this area. The point about medical schools, I think, is really, really important. I do have a lot of sympathy for medical students. They have an awful lot of things to learn in their 5-6 years at medical school. But even so, given how serious FOP is, I think, and the amount of misdiagnosis, we're hearing about the amputations, the treatment, the cancer treatment, which ironically makes, or not ironically, but tragically makes FOP worse, does show the importance of medical students, the doctors of the future, knowing about FOP, so we can try and get those affected on the right treatment pathway as soon as possible. So please, can we look at the research into related areas to see if a little bit of that funding could go to FOP, and just make sure that it really is on the radar of the medical schools, so we have more than 3 clinicians in the UK who are expert in this field. We will need to significantly increase that number to do the right thing by people affected. Thank you, Mr. Chair.